the exact height. Yes, know your patch and know your height. And if you're a keen walker or a mountain climber in Wales, you may be interested to know that there may be more mountains now over 1,000 metres than we previously thought. At the moment, only 4 mountains south of the Scottish border qualify as members of the Metric Super League Club. And they're all in Wales: Snowdon, Crib y Ddisgwyl, Carnedd Llywelyn and Carnedd Dafydd. And now, though, the spotlight is on Glyder Fawr, and there's a chance that it might sneak into this elite group. Martin Phillips from Welshpool and Graham Jackson from Chester are interested in measuring the precise heights of mountains in Wales as a hobby, and Martin and Graham are in our studio in Mold. You're both very welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Good. It's an incredible hobby, boys. Now, when will we know then for sure whether or not Glyder Fawr will qualify as a peak over 1,000 metres?
Well, we're announcing the result at Plas Tan-y-bwlch, which is the Snowdonia Society, the Snowdonia National Park Authority's Environmental Study Centre. And that's going to be at midday in the Oakley Room, Tuesday, 21st of September.
There's a twinkle in your voice. I can put it there. You know, don't you?
It's more than my life is worth, right, to tell you the result.
And there I was going to offer you a pint.
Now you're talking.
I can soften you up. How much difference will it make then to the climbing and walking fraternity if it achieves this status? I mean, is it a psychological thing?
I think as far as the hill walking community is concerned, that is probably the case. It won't make a lot of difference there. Where it will make an impact, I think, is with the 1,000 metre fell race, for example, which takes place every year and covers the 4 1,000 metre peaks. And if this were to exceed that magic number, clearly that organisation would have to think about the race.
Right. I'm looking at a photograph here of Glyder Fawr. Lots of spiky bits up there, aren't there? There's no way of cheating then.
Well, the very highest point of Glyder Fawr comprises 2 summit tors, and the very highest one, that in itself has 2 elongated rock spires.
Right.
But again, with the surveying equipment that we possess, you can, once you've lugged it all up to the mountain, which takes a number of hours, you can set it up and you can do the surveys to work out the very highest point.
All right. What about OS maps then? You know, I'm a geographer myself, you know, and I've always relied on, you know, the old contour lines and the sort of peaks that are listed there.
The Ordnance Survey maps are extremely good, as you say. They're probably the best in the world. The technique that they use, which is aerial photography, can measure heights to about plus or minus 3 metres, which is plenty good enough for what the map is used for. The map is fit for purpose. If you want to navigate around the hills, then you don't need better information than that. But in this particular case, if you want to distinguish between something that is 999 metres and might just be 1,000 metres, clearly that technique won't work because the accuracy is not great enough. And then you have to resort to more accurate techniques.
Right. What was the height? Well, a generally accepted height of Glyder Fawr then?
On the current Ordnance Survey maps, it's 999 metres.
Struth, this is pretty close, isn't it?
Well, it's just 1 metre, so I wonder whether it is or not.
It's all this stuff with that film, isn't it? An Englishman who walked up a hill and came down a mountain.
Well, the film itself was filmed just outside of Welshpool, so very close to Llanrhider and Mochnant.
See, there we go. Yeah. What methods do you use? Do you have special sort of satellite connectors or something?
Yeah, basically what we use is a survey-grade GPS, which in principle is very similar to the sat-nav that you've got in your car. It uses the same satellites that are in the sky, it's just much more accurate.
All right. Because I remember a story, I'm going back many years now, about a fella who was flying a plane in the Himalayas, and he had his altimeter going, and suddenly a mountain raised in front of him, you know, out of the mist and the cloud. There was a mountain there, and it wasn't supposed to be there. It wasn't Everest, it was one nearby. But he reckoned, looking at his altimeter, that it was higher. And I think he may have been looking at K2 or something. But according to him, they should remeasure it. He thought the K2 was higher than Mount Everest.
Yes, that was a controversy, I think, a few years ago, wasn't it? And indeed, I believe they did measure again K2, and it did come out lower.
Lower, did it?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, right, yes. And your measurements are very accurate, aren't they? Down to what?
It all depends on how long you want to sit up there at the summit collecting data, but sensibly, if you're up there for 3 or 4 hours, as we were on Glyder Fawr, the instrument will give you an accuracy down to about plus or minus 5 centimeters or 2 inches.
Yes.
So it is very, very accurate.
Yeah. Well, you seem like quiet, ordinary boys, but you've caused a bit of a furore, haven't you? Trivvan comes to mind. You caused a bit of a fuss in Trivvan, didn't you?
Well, we went to resurvey Trivvan a couple of months ago, and of course you're talking about imperial measurement there, and
Yes.
Trivvan was one of the historic 14 peaks of Wales, the 3,000-foot elite mountains. But again, we're talking about this margin of uncertainty associated with aerial photography that the Ordnance Survey employ to gain spot heights on maps. And the present map height of Trivvan, there was, within that error factor, there was a possibility Trivvan may not be 3,000 foot. So, yeah, we did the same thing, Roy. We went up there. We were joined by Mark Greaves, the geodetic analyst at the Ordnance Survey, and also Radio Wales' Chris Stearden joined us on the day as well, and Alan Pugh.
Did he?
He was the then director of the Snowdonia Society.
Yeah.
And of course, our colleague that's absent today, we couldn't fit him into the studio, and that's John Barnard. Because, of course, there are 3 of us.
Yeah. Was Chris from Radio Wales wearing his waistcoat? He's always got a waistcoat on.
Waistcoat and tie on the summit. He is very well adorned.
We have the photograph.
Where did this interest in sort of calling to go up a peak come from then for you two?
It goes back a long way, really. I go up to Scotland a lot with a group of colleagues walking in the Highlands, and we all bought handheld GPSs when they came out, and then we started collecting grid references for the summits and putting all of those into a database, which has grown and grown and is available on the web.
Right.
But when you start getting into it, you then ask yourself, well, is that summit I went to really the summit, or is it somewhere over there? And then that gets you into surveying and the concepts of surveying.
Yes.
So we first of all bought a level and a staff, which you see out on building sites. Very, very accurate, but it can measure height differences very accurately, but not absolute height.
Yeah.
And then more latterly, we persuaded our wives that we could part with a bit of cash, and we invested in this GPS.
Well, this adds new dimension for you, because
it's a completely new dimension.
You're always out on a walk. If the door's open, you're gone, aren't you?
That is correct. Yes, I mean this has not lessened our interest in hill walking per se. It's just another branch of the activity, if you like.
Well, of course, exactly right. So good luck then with your future measuring. And tell me again now when this big announcement is going to be made about Glyder Fawr.
It's midday, and it's Tuesday, the 21st of September at Plas Tan-y-bwlch at Maentwrog in the Oakley Room.
There you are, Merlin Phillips and Graham Jackson. I tell you what, I'm going to make a bet and a decision on this now, because I picked up a little twinkle in your voice a little earlier, all right? And I'm going to answer the question, is Glyder Fawr over 1,000 metres, all right?
Go on then.
Yes.
We can't tell you. Sword to secrecy.
Are you going to buy us a pint if you're right?
I will. I'll see to it. I'll buy you a pint if I'm right. Both of you. It's a deal, okay?
Okay.
Let me know.
Thank you.
God, let me know. I rely on that. All the best, boys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.